If you're like me and can be hard on yourself sometimes, let's talk about how we can turn that around by having a lens of generosity towards yourself and others.
Welcome to the I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, place for the strong, sensitive, spiritual seeker to recognize the perfection of your human journey as a path to spiritual worlds, proven and grounded frameworks that support you to live in the wholeness you already are. For over the past 2 decades, I have supported people from all around the world, as well as Fortune 500 companies, to dissolve the divisions within them and live with greater empowerment and love. This podcast is an exploration of the paradoxes that befuddle us as we live our lives being both human and divine. Together, you and I, along with other experts, will navigate integrating psychology and spirituality, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, the darkness and the light, to create greater sacred union from within. I believe through your remembering that you are innately divine, that you will allow yourself to more openly shine. So let's get to it, because your unique light is needed more than ever.
Hello, my beautiful souls. I'm so excited that we are together because today we are talking about how you can view yourself and others through a lens of generosity. And this is really ideal for those of you if you feel that you are hard on yourself often or you feel misunderstood. I get those feelings. I have been there with those feelings. And we can really start to evolve that through this lens of generosity that we give towards ourselves, and the beautiful gift of having that ripple effect in being able to give that to others. And we can't give to another what we first don't give to ourselves. And so I was thinking about this as we're going into Thanksgiving, we're getting together with family. And I know sometimes family can get, there's a family member that can get under your skin, or where you feel judged by them or misunderstood. And I'm hoping today this will support you with that, because I certainly have a story to share with you about my own journey with that, and anything that I can do to help shorten your journey so that you're not struggling like I have. I want you to have that. So, and I really, again, feel that Thanksgiving, yes, it's this time to be thankful. I think it's also a time to be generous. And so one of the best ways we can do that is to see each other in an expansive lens where we see the best qualities in oneself, yourself, and in others. And so perhaps you are someone who naturally sees the best in others. I would say I'm a person that does pretty well at that now, but it's not been a natural tendency for me. And here's why. My I am a judger, and that judgment is also a skill that comes with this ability to discern. And this is very important for my life's work, because when I go into an inward sacred journey with someone, I am really good at helping them discern from their ego and their truth, from their shadow and their light. I can get in there, and I do that really quick. And with anyone and your skill base, whatever your gift is, you will have the Achilles heel where it shows up in other areas where it's not a gift, right? And so for me, I can be highly perceptive in personal situations that's not calling for me to be that super sensitive and aware. And so that has made me feel judged and misunderstood, as well as, I would say, probably more unconsciously being a judger and not realizing it towards others. So I'm going to share all about that today. And I got to say that when we do this, the positive ripple effects that this creates, not just within all areas of your life, but the energetic impact that this lens of generosity can have just with your interactions with others, it can be quite startling. It can be that magical and dramatic. And so I have to share this with you because I want you to be able to be able to work through any of this if this is a challenge for you, as well as see some of the magic behind it. And with any magic, it really is our ability to allow ourselves to be vulnerable and grow and tap into more of our power. And I'm going to share more about that as well. So really, it's really this, that for me, the key difference for myself has been understanding the difference between discernment from love versus fear or lack. And so when I'm helping others, first of all, they have agreed to go on this journey with me. They want to, they're ready to become unstuck and address their ego head on. And so we're in a partnership with this, right? And it's for their highest good. And again, they're ready. Versus when I have used discernment coming from a place of fear or lack from within myself, which typically for me has been about making myself feel superior or inferior to others, because that's what we do when we get into this judging state. This is what happens when we feel misunderstood. We go into this place of inferiority. And then think about what this does with our energy. And so for my own growth journey, what I'll say is I was really good at applying this in many areas of my life. But man, when it comes to family, right? There's that one person that can just know how to get under your skin. And I know what that's like. And with family, I think we can also feel so comfortable with one another that we think it's okay to kind of get petty or judgy about really silly things like, why did they make the mashed potatoes so lumpy? Or why did they make all these biscuits and I wanted croissants? I mean, the stuff that goes on, right? Of course, there's the political tiffs where you feel righteous about where you stand, and somehow others who don't believe in you, believe the same things you do, are less than, or you fall into those same family dynamics where you feel judged or you do the judging, right? So this family dynamic piece is one of my favorites, because when we are feeling judged, what I have found through my experience, which I'm going to share with you, is that we are also guilty of doing the judging as well. Now, before you say to me, no, Michelle, they're the ones judging me first. I feel it. I've got proof. Here's what they're saying to me. Let me explain more about how I figured this out. So for a long time in my life, I have felt judged by a certain family member. And this could go the gamut from everything from how I looked, where I've been, questioned if I've been gaining weight, where the other person has said to me, I think I weigh less than you now, or from things like of how I raised my family, especially like what food I fed them. And I was told that I was too strict with them and making them eat all these healthy foods and let them live a little and have some sugar in their life. And really, it came down to anything. It could be how I thought about politics, parenting, cleaning my home, my spiritual beliefs, you name it, right? And so, as Brene Brown says, I would armor up around this person. I would do so in all sorts of ways. I would try to be put together as best as I can, look a certain way, have my house together a certain way. I would come guns a-blazing with my defense tactics that I've worked out in my head for months about pretend disagreements that we were going to have in the future. And I would be ready with my defense that I was going to spiel off, or I would have the defense of pretending not to care when really what they shared did bother me. And while I have always loved this person, a part of me dreaded spending time with them because I just felt like I would be picked apart. Any little thing, they would take that thing and they would pull, and then this thread would come unraveling within me. And for a long, long, long time, it worked. Okay? And even though my ego told me things like, I'm over it, I don't care what they think. The truth was, my energy was different around this person, more so than any other person in my life. I just felt on guard with them. And I did this dance with this person for decades. For decades. And so if I can prevent you from not doing this dance with someone for decades, I would love for my experience to support you in that way. So I have gotten in some gnarly arguments with this person. And I would say for a long time, it felt almost predictable that when we got together, either every time, or perhaps if I was lucky, fingers crossed, every other time, I would end up leaving, being in exchange with this person with hurt feelings. So here I was, loved this person, dreaded this person. And let's face it, I have some good evidence on my side that this person was not treating me great. And for years and years, my ego used to blame this person for their behavior. But eventually, my empowered sadness and anxiety had something to say about this. Those little nudges, those whispers of how our empowered inner knowingness and guidance supports us. And through learning the empowered language of your negative feelings, you can start to listen. Even when your ego's got a hold of you, even when your ego's got the armor up. And what my empowered emotions led me to see was that I and only me am responsible for my energy. Only me, my energy. And again, if I'm willing to be honest and vulnerable, the way I have approached this person has been tense, defensive, and completely closed off. Maybe not completely, but pretty closed off. And the truth was, if I was really going to take responsibility for my energy, I was engaging in certain patterns energetically way before they did a thing to me. So, and this would show up perhaps in my actions or just my energetic stance, right? In other words, here I am out at home planning for months my defense tactics, right? To some imaginary conversation that we haven't had in order that I could come out, quote unquote, unscathed. I was operating from a psychological belief about patterns in others, which is past behavior is the best predictor for future behavior. This is something you learn in psychology. Past behavior is the best predictor for future behavior. But why is that? Is it only the other person's fault? For years, I believed it was absolutely the other person's fault. I would say nothing to instigate them, but eventually their judgments towards me would come pouring out of them. But the real truth, when I wanted to get responsible for my outcomes in life, is that I was energetically participating long before they ever said a word to me. And what I was doing was absolutely judging them. And we have all felt what it's like to be judged by someone without them saying a word. And that's exactly what I was doing to this person. By me judging them as judgy and someone who was hurtful, I showed up protected, guarded, and came across just a bit weird or off, right? And I don't know about you, but when you're around someone who's kind of tense and guarded, you put your guard up as well, right? Which is exactly what this person was doing in their way. They had their way of defending themselves. And here's what I found. These patterns would keep getting evoked within me until I was ready to resolve them. Because where our true power is within each of us is within ourselves. My true power was within me. So, in other words, this person who liked to power over me was actually teaching me how to more fully own and live from my true power by taking responsibility for myself via my energy. They weren't consciously teaching me this, but the patterns were guiding me to grow in this direction. In other words, if I wanted things to change, I had to grow in this direction. I had to take responsibility for what I was doing that was also making this, that was involved in this energetic exchange. So while I had plenty of opinions of what needed to be addressed with this person, of what work they should be doing on themselves and how they should grow, I was giving my power away to them. And I only have control over me, not the other person. You only have control over you, not another person. And so the more I began to take responsibility for my energy and learned ways to feel safe within myself, guess what? This person started judging me less and less and less. And once in a while, they would still say something that was a bit off putting. But instead of going into my old story about them, I would just tell myself, yeah, I guess they had an off moment. And guess what? I've had lots of off moments in my life where I've said something stupid. And so it happens. It doesn't make us bad. It's just having an off moment. And if I can remember that truth about them in that moment, then I can give myself that compassion as well for when it happens. And what I'll say is that this person has been so significant and instrumental to growth in so many areas of my life. The hurts and pains that I was labeling as coming from them were actually leading me to relinquish more and more of these layers of my ego, of these defense mechanisms that I've just piled on throughout the years and just didn't even know, wasn't even aware because it just seemed like, well, that's what you do, you armor up, right? And I shared on one of my earlier episodes of this season when I changed the podcast name to I'm Perfectly Divine, how before that, I had to pull away from the online world. It's true that I felt this calling to help people in the corporate world because they were struggling and I saw the statistics and how they were struggling. And I wanted to get in there and help them. And I'm glad I did. I love that experience. But the other truth to that is that I was simultaneously feeling way too much pressure with an online presence where I was so afraid of someone not liking me or someone saying that, someone attacking me basically. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I've lived my life feeling attacked. I don't want to be attacked online. And so I just kind of shut down around it. And this is the light bulb moment that changed everything because this person, in the love of how they have been created, has been perfectly designed to support my growth so that I can come back online and be imperfectly divine and others can be imperfectly divine. And they may criticize me. They may hate what I have to say. They may think X, Y, and Z, and it doesn't matter because we are all perfectly divine as we are created, because it's there to support our growth. It's there to support my growth and all our complexities, opinions, and human expressions, because it is literally designed to support us, to liberate us further and further and further into knowing the love that we all are. Now, I am not saying that I want your criticisms, people. I mean, if you got to say it, you got to say it. I'm not, but just to be clear, I'm not calling that forward. I'm just saying that this person has supported me to come back, to open up again and open up in another way that's more vulnerable, that's more authentic, because of how they were teaching me to take responsibility for my energy and how to learn how to stand in my own power and make myself feel safe. So if you are dreading some dynamic between a family member, please know that I get it. I totally get it. I see in myself the part of me who doesn't feel seen, understood, loved. And I know that doesn't feel good. And so if this person is bringing this dynamic out in me, what helps me understand this is that I may unconsciously be bringing out this dynamic within them. And so the antidote that I have found is, what is one step I can take to see them more generously, with greater love, understanding, without judgment, without blame. And so if you do this, know that you are doing it for both you and this other person. And you may do this and you may still get triggered by them. And that's totally okay. That's part of the process. So we can't take our growth journey so seriously. We can't expect ourselves to get things perfect and that, things don't bother us. I mean, things can still bother me. That's what I'm saying. It's just, we become prepared more and more internally, where we build that resilience, we build that strength, but we're not automatically going to get there in one moment. But bit by bit, this lens of generosity will grow within you. And as it does, it's also going to grow towards those who have challenged you the most. And my hope is that in the end, that when you look back at them, that you too will have a sense of gratitude as to how they have helped prepare you to expand in love in ways you did not know were possible. It's powerful. Bringing me to tears almost. So yeah, it really is. This lens of generosity is so powerful. So I hope you give yourself the gift of giving this to yourself. And I am just sending you so much love. As always, know that you are divine perfection, exactly as you are. There's nothing to prove, just to remember. I mean that. And I'm grateful, so grateful for you listening, because without you, who else would be, caring about their emotions, their sensitivity, their relationships, living with greater love? I'm so grateful to have soul family like you. And if you have a friend that speaks this language, that gets this depth of where I love to go, please share this episode with them. Share this with them. I would love to have more people be a part of this generosity lens, and remembering that they are divine perfection as well. So thank you again. I am so honored that I get to share my inner world with you. I hope that it supports you on your journey as well. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, take care and much love to you.
I am so honored you have joined me today. If you enjoyed the I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, subscribe so you don't miss any of our power-filled episodes. Also, if you know another who is strong, sensitive, and spiritual and wants to dive deeper into emotions and ancient wisdom so they too can create profound peace and fulfillment from within, please share this podcast. Thank you again for joining me, and I look forward to reconnecting with you soon.